Welcome to the Mild Opinion Podcast. I'm Logan.
And I'm Luke.
And today we're going to be talking about some underused or misused or just haven't been used at all heroes and villains in TV shows and movies. So just guys that we haven't seen before, characters that had a shot or had a little bit of screen time or were mentioned but just not done to their fullest potential.
Sure, and I think these are all comic book characters as well. But to start off properly, would you like to get us swinging here on one of your picks?
I shall. I have a pretty big name. I know rumors are saying that he's going to show up here within the next few years or so whenever Marvel moves on with their next phase, but he's been mentioned briefly a few times in different stuff. But that is Mr. Sinister. I know as far as X-Men stuff goes, with the movies and stuff that we have already, the space is kind of crowded with villains because they're all different storylines and stuff where he wouldn't have really fit in. Sure. But I don't know. I just feel like he's such a big villain in terms of X-Men stuff, but he's not really been in anything. They mentioned him in New Mutants. I think that's where they were trying to go from there, but obviously we know what happened to New Mutants, so,
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just feel like he's such a big character, and he's, cool, too. He's a good villain in, the comics and stuff, and just the fact that we've had all of this X-Men stuff so far, but none of it has been about him is kind of insane.
Yeah, and I think the X-Men movies, too, have kind of gotten properly so where it should be that Magneto is a main bad guy or shows up and is helping them as needed. I think that should always be a thing that's going on, but I think that too has taken the focus away from a lot of other villains, and we've talked about it before too, that characters like Juggernaut have not gotten their proper shine there either. But there's a lot of X-Men villains out there that have been kind of overshadowed, and sure that are probably a little less well known than your main go-tos like Mystique and Magneto, but the ones we've gotten are Stryker, Deathstrike, and Apocalypse and the Sentinels, and it's they were all good to see. Well, controversially good to see, yeah. But I think with characters like Mr. Sinister and beyond that, there's a lot of room for a long-term villain who is capable of being just a constant pain for the X-Men. Yeah. And so I think, that is something where hopefully he will show up down the line and will have his fair share of time and won't get the comic book villain effect of where they show up for one movie and it's all wrapped up nice and tidy and they're gone in the next movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is a thing for a lot of villains, unfortunately, and I hope that that's started to shy away from a little bit, but I hope that when he shows up, gets a good amount of time.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too, which I understand there's big bads and then there's lower tier villains, you know what I mean? And that's just how it goes, especially with the movies and stuff. They can't just have the same people fighting forever. And Thanos obviously was a multi-movie villain, huge, you know what I mean? Doom is seeming to be the same way.
Yeah.
People like that. But also there's other villains who are just in it, like Gore in Thor Love and Thunder. He should have been way more powerful. If Spider-Man, beats up Scorpion in one movie, sure, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But then, you have other people like Gore who are super powerful, get beat in one movie. It's man, I don't know, they should have more time. Same thing with Apocalypse. He should have been a huge villain, not just a one movie guy.
A one-off.
And I kind of hope that with Mr. Sinister, I kind of want them to give him the Thanos effect when they bring him up in the MCU. I know that's what everybody's saying is he'll be the next big bad for the X-Men series of stuff after Secret Wars. But I kind of want him to be how Thanos was, where he'll show up in post-credit scenes or you'll see him talking to somebody for multiple movies, like 4 or 5 different movies, and then the end is like them fighting him and stuff like that. Him carrying out some sort of evil plan. Like, I want that to be like how he is.
And I think too, with a character like him, and in general, I don't know as much as like about the bigger X-Men villains like Mr. Sinister, but I think with him and with the X-Men in general, they so far have played it really to their advantage that when there's like a new threat or bad guy or something, they don't necessarily hide their other villains, and they will do a good job of incorporating it into what is going on. So hopefully the MCU takes a page out of that book so that there is still room for like Magneto and, you know, like if Phoenix is going to be a thing or the Sentinels are going to be a thing, where it's all one cohesive thing, not like a one at a time and this one has to be wrapped up before we can do anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
If it gets messy, I think there's not a better place for it to be messy than with the X-Men.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, keeping on the X-Men, for one of my picks is Omega Red, who I also will admit I don't know a whole ton about him, but I've always thought his character design is really cool, and I think he's... I imagine that in a live-action scenario, and I am left with, like, that would be a really crazy bad guy to see on screen. Is it that he's usually a bad guy to Wolverine, like, specifically? Or is it just all around X-Men?
Well, I think usually it's Wolverine, but, I mean, he's been in plenty of stuff. He's pretty powerful, but I feel like most of the time whenever I've seen or heard anything about him, he's, like, with other villains, or he's, you know, kind of like a super powerful grunt villain, but I mean, like, as a villain, he is strong. Like, don't get it wrong. He's not like the mastermind of a lot of it a lot of the time.
He's muscle, and I think with the X-Men, with especially characters like Magneto and their ideology and stuff of valuing grunts and henchmen and like their abilities and stuff just because of how unique and useful it is, I think that it's a great place to introduce characters like that. Which also goes hand in hand with Juggernaut, because it's not a thing where they're just like following orders and stuff. It can be that they are a real problem, even if they are just a grunt or a henchman for the leading characters, you know? So I would hope to see Omega Red at some point as well, and I really, just on X-Men, I think there's a lot of different villainous characters that they should open the bottle on there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think a lot of it now is just because our sample size for X-Men stuff is very limited, especially because of what you were talking about earlier. Like, a lot of the movies and stuff were the same people, like Mystique, Magneto, stuff like that, or like internal struggles because of, like, you know, the Phoenix Force and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, a lot of it, there wasn't room for other villains and stuff like that, which is fine. But now I feel like that's why we're like, oh yeah, like, X-Men has this whole other world that could be explored that just hasn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And the last X-Men thing I think we'll talk about today is one that I have that hasn't been used, but rather a hero this time. He has been used, just not... I didn't love the way he was used. He didn't have, like, a great role. Like, and this is somebody that I think once they really open the bottle on the MCU X-Men stuff, that he could be like a big part, and it'd be kind of cool. I know a lot of people have talked about this before, but Warpath, just because he's unique, he has good, you know, Native American representation, stuff like that. But also, I mean, he has, like, I mean, it's comic book characters, so everybody does.
Yeah.
But, like, his lore and, like, the comics and stuff is, like, pretty awesome, too. Like, superhero brother and all that. Just everything about him is pretty sick. And I just feel like, yeah, he was in 1 or 2 of the X-Men movies already, but just not, like, a huge part. Like, he barely does anything of significance. And then, you know, but he's, like, a big character. Like, he's really awesome. And I feel like they could give him, even if not, like, his own movie or show or anything like that, like, it's fine. But, like, just making him a bigger part of what's going on, that I think he would be a really cool person to have.
Yeah, and it's like we're saying, where it's like there's not a whole lot of opportunities with regular superhero movies to introduce a side character and make them really important unless that's the sole focus outside of like team up movies. So I think with X-Men it can be like, oh, let's grab this really obscure X-Men and make them really important some way. Like they have some crazy thing that can screw up mutations, or like just that, you know, you can take any obscure X-Men and put them to some wild use against other X-Men. And I think with characters like Warpath and the way he's been used, which is, I only remember him from Days of Future Past, and I think he died, probably. But with characters like that, there's just a lot of room to explore all these lesser-known characters, and I feel like that's a strength of the X-Men that they've already used before, but just since there's so many mutants and X-Men characters, like, it hasn't been fully fleshed out for a lot of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like with the new upcoming X-Men stuff, especially now that it's like MCU stuff as well, they're gonna want to use, you know, everybody's favorites.
Yeah.
Wolverine, Cyclops, you know, Storm, Beast, Professor X, you know, the regular guys and girls, you know, whatever. But like they're gonna want to use the regular characters, but then I feel like after that, since we've seen those characters so many times, that's when they can flesh out to like, okay, you know, let's get people like Warpath in here. You know what I mean? Some of the more unique characters and like unique villains as well, like you mentioned, just other, you know, other people who aren't necessarily like the big guys that you think of just over and over again in all of the movies and comics.
Yeah.
So I think now might be a good time for that with the Marvel stuff after we get through with all of the Doomsday, the Doctor Doom era.
Sure. Well, I'll stay on Marvel for right now, and I'll jump to a villain who I have always wanted to see done properly on screen, and I know he showed up at the end of Kraven, but that's Chameleon, the Spider-Man villain. I have always wanted to see him adapted as like a main supporting bad guy in a Spider-Man movie, and like my dream of that would be like my ultimate idea of a Spider-Man movie, which would be like Spider-Man and Daredevil versus Kingpin, and Chameleon's like his henchman goon, which probably won't happen that way. But I think Chameleon would be a different kind of threat to Spider-Man than other villains that we've seen so far, because most of the time it's like the next strongest character who, you know, Spider-Man can get in a huge fist fight with, or somebody who's just found a way to screw with his senses or his powers or something. And I feel like Chameleon can attack him from a way of, if Chameleon found out Spider-Man is Peter Parker, that's very bad. And I think that would be an interesting avenue to explore for a Spider-Man villain in a movie. And I also just think that he's a cool bad guy. Very classic.
I agree, and I feel like he's one of those characters too that, you know, it's not about like brawn, like it's more of like, you know, a mental thing. Like he can really mess with you. He can, you know, mess with your mind because you never know like who you're talking to or who's, you know, with you, who's against you. Like because he can manipulate that stuff with his appearance, and I feel like that would be really interesting for a Spider-Man movie as well, or just because like, you know, like you said, most of it's Spider-Man getting in a huge fist fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's fighting Green Goblin or, you know, Doc Ock or whoever he's fighting, just strong characters beating each other up, stuff like that. Where like that would put, you know, Peter Parker's intelligence to the test, which, you know, he's a genius, but like that would, you know, have him work that stuff out, you know, with his intelligence, stuff like that, rather than just his fighting abilities and all that. And also I feel like that would make for a really good movie as well, just because on the other end of it, like they could make it like a little bit more mysterious, like not exactly showing you like who Chameleon is at this point in time and doing this, that, or the other. Like making it kind of like you don't know either until it wraps up later on. Like, it could be really good cinematically.
That could be something they even, like, it probably wouldn't be, because they probably want to, once they decide Chameleon's a bad guy, that they want to use to, like, make him one of the main bad guys. But, I mean, they could start several movies in advance, since, like, Spider-Man Brand New Day is supposed to be, like, the new start for, this is now your Spider-Man as you should have him, right? Mm-hmm. So they could even just, like, throughout the movie be like, oh, like, I saw Peter Parker the other day doing this or that, and he's just like, what? Like, I wasn't doing that, or, like, just little things like that. Drop, like, seeds that there's just, like, something off.
Mm-hmm.
Probably wouldn't be for more than a few movies.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't even be a like, precursor thing.
Yeah.
They'd probably just get to it. But, yeah, I like the concept you're saying of where you start the movie and you don't see Chameleon doing what he's doing, at least in the context of that, you know that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? For a superhero movie, I think that'd be a unique way to go about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I know with, you know, these big companies, Marvel and DC and all that, they don't want to take, like, huge swings like that just because they're trying to make the most standard money-making superhero movie they can. But when they do, like, unique concepts, like stuff like that, where it's, like, a little bit more mysterious and it's not, like, super straightforward, like, making it a more unique movie than just a straight-up superhero movie, I think that's really awesome whenever people do that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree. I think Chameleon needs his time in the limelight.
He does. He does.
There is one more Marvel character that I want to hit before we move on to probably some more DC stuff. I think they need to include Gladiator. And I'm sure they will. I'm sure we'll probably get to that point, especially the way that the power scaling is seeming to go up in Marvel right now in the MCU. But I feel like Gladiator is one of those characters, like, we're getting to the point where we're getting a lot of, like, Superman-esque characters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Wonder Man, Sentry, Adam Warlock, and then, you know, we already have Miss Marvel and everything like that, Captain Marvel, like, characters like that, like, pretty strong. So I feel like it's getting to a point where we're going to have strong characters like that come together into a big sort of fight or in a team or something. But I feel like Gladiator would fit into that. And then I know before we started this, you mentioned Hyperion too. We'll just group those together into the same thing. But just these really strong, like, interesting Superman-esque characters.
There's a surprising amount of them left that they haven't used
I
yet.
know. Oh, and another one that I mentioned before we started, I'll just group him in with this too, since it's kind of the same thing, is Blue Marvel.
Blue Marvel, yeah.
So it's just, you know, a bunch of super strong, like, kind of the same thing, like, super strength, super fast, super durable, flies, you know, those kinds of characters. But I think those would all be guys that I'm sure probably will come soon with the way that it's looking.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've already introduced quite a few here recently within the past, like, 2-3 years. Sure. And there's all these other ones that we just mentioned that they're still not even, you know, in it yet. So it's like, man, where are these guys at?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you're right. They're, like, to that point now where they have almost enough characters to where they'd be able to take on threats like that. But I still think, like, if they drop all of these characters in all at once, it'll just obliterate the power scaling that's established right now.
That is true.
So it's kind of weird how many of them are left with how far along we are, which has been, like, the trajectory of the MCU, because it has been, you know, start from the beginning and make it, like, it's really, like, simple to digest of, like, oh, yeah, it's Tony Stark, a guy in a suit that's really strong. And then you slowly introduce, like, the gods and, like, these insanely powerful characters and stuff. But, like, they had to do it in a way that makes sense. This can't all, like, be going on at the same time. So now that they're later on down the line, like, reshaping their formula of introducing characters and stuff, it's like there's a lot of real powerhouses left.
Yeah.
And that actually takes me into my last Marvel character that I'll bring up, which is Beta Ray Bill, which I think he's been theorized to show up in many movies since at least Thor Ragnarok. Because I remember in the trailer for Thor Ragnarok when it's showing like the arena and stuff Thor's fighting in, one of the big statues on the front of it is at least somebody of that species. But it seems like it's Beta Ray Bill. And I even thought when Thor Love and Thunder came around, I'm like, alright, here we go. He's gonna show up.
Yeah.
Still has not shown up. Asgard has been gone for years. The new Asgard has been reshaped multiple times. Thor probably won't be around for... Well, I don't know, though, because they always are like, oh, no, we're already making Thor 5 and stuff. So it's like, maybe Thor 5 will finally get Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
But for another character I don't know a whole lot about, but that I have always been intrigued about for as long as I've been interested in Marvel and, like, characters from Thor's world because of how big of an impact they've had on the MCU and stuff. How has Beta Ray Bill not shown up?
Yeah.
Like, what? Are you kidding me? And the thing is like, with movies like Doomsday and Secret Wars coming up, you can't just be like, oh, and here's Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah. Like, that's not just somebody that you can just throw into the mix and be like, oh, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, here he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I would love to see him and stuff, but I think the time needs to be right. Now is not the time.
Yeah, now is not the time. And that at least puts him at least 2 years out. Probably 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, who knows?
Chris Hemsworth will be long gone. But yeah, I think that wraps up my Marvel stuff. Did you have any more characters you want to touch on with Marvel?
I'm good on Marvel. We can move into some DC stuff. I feel like,
Right.
I mean, we're pretty big Marvel and DC fans, but for us, I feel like Marvel comes up a lot more just because...
It has a lot more recognizable names and storylines
Yeah,
and stuff. And
I
not
agree.
that DC doesn't have its remarkables, but there's a lot of characters where you'd say that and people would be like, huh? What?
Yeah, I agree. Especially because the MCU just has so much more
Yeah.
than,
Yeah.
and we can kind of pinpoint a trajectory compared to, like, DC.
Sure.
But we will now show DC some flowers.
Yes.
Who do you have? You can go first on DC.
Well, I will probably group two of these in back to back real quick because I don't want to go down one specific avenue that tends to be the case. Because I am a big Batman fan, I don't want us to just stay stuck on Batman villains. So I'll start with one of the two that I'll bring up, which we've talked about before, is Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
He has been done in many different ways, some of which were live action. Like, in the Dark Knight movies, he shows up. In the TV show Gotham, they did a version of him. But they haven't done a Scarecrow that can really go toe-to-toe with Batman in a way that the character should be able to challenge Batman. And I feel like Scarecrow is the last of the Batman villains that hasn't... Well, I say this because there's, like, different versions of Batman villains, but he's one of those, like, big bad Batman villains that are on par with, in my opinion, like with Riddler and, like, Two-Face and Penguin and stuff. He should be grouped into that level of them as, like, he could be a main threat to Batman. And it's, like, it's great to see him in Batman Begins because I think he's cool in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's quick and out of the way fast, and he's not the main threat. Like, what he accomplished was the main threat, but he's just like a patsy in it. I want to see him as the mastermind and, like, the real threat. And then the other one I'll bring up with Batman, which I know has also been done in the TV show, but I know people also did not like that, is in Titans version of the show, is Jason Todd from... And I would love to see it as, like, he's introduced as Robin, and then, like, a slow burn to him becoming Red Hood. Because Red Hood also is up there as... I'd say he's one of the more unique Batman villains, and he is pretty well known, but I don't think you always think of him when you think of Batman villains, despite how well known he is. And I think once we get an established Batman in the right trajectory to allow for that storyline, it would be a shame to still not see Red Hood as the bad guy in a Batman movie. You know, that's all I'll say for Batman villains, because I could go on
forever.
Forever about how many of
Yeah.
them would make a great main bad guy. Just, I think those two, who actually are a duo of main villains in a video game, but
Yeah.
I think those two would make great main bad guys to Batman in a movie.
Yeah, I agree on those two. I mean, we won't spend too much time on that just because Batman has infinite villains. It feels like every Batman show or movie just kind of recycles the same few.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we don't need to spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
You did mention some characters, though, that I think they need to have a really good movie or show in the new DCU.
Mm-hmm.
The Teen Titans. I know they
Yeah.
had Titans. Some people loved it. A lot of people hated it. I think they need to do the Teen Titans justice because they're, like, so big. Like, the animated shows and stuff are huge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the regular Teen Titans shows, a lot of people grew up with that.
Yeah.
And then Teen Titans Go is a lot more stupid of a show.
This is, like, goofy.
Yeah, it's just goofy. But, like, a really good live-action Teen Titans, I feel like, would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's,
and they've got awesome bad guys, too.
Yeah, awesome villains, super recognizable characters, big fan bases for all the characters, too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many ways that they're, like, connected as well.
Yeah.
Just, like, I don't know. Like, they have, like, their regular run-of-the-mill, street-level bad guys. And then because of, like, Raven, they're connected to, more, like, spiritual, like,
Trigon.
like crazy stuff like that.
I feel
know,
like Trigon is a good bad guy for the Teen Titans, but I honestly feel like he could also be, like, a bad guy to the Justice League.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that would also just be, like, a great avenue for, like, different villains and stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of... Yeah, with how the Teen Titans work, where they're, like, their own team separate from the Justice League and stuff, they all, just like they would with the Justice League, bring their lore and stuff to that. So, with Robin specifically, and Deathstroke showing up as, like, I feel like people think of, like, Slade, Deathstroke as, like, the Teen Titans bad guy, because he basically was in the show. But that also would open the floodgates for crazy things to happen, like Cinderblock showing up. Like, imagine live action Cinderblock just... But, also, like, things like Red X and, yeah, Raven. If you ever watched the show, had so much crazy crap go on. And, like, those weird time travel things that happened, and, like, Cyborg's bad guys and Beast Boy's story and stuff. There's so much to do with that.
Yeah, and Starfire's...
Starfire, like Blackfire
lore,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff they could do. And I think with our generation of people who grew up watching Teen Titans, that would be such a draw to the movies to go see a really well done Teen Titans. Because I watched the show that was like Titans, where it's like them growing up and stuff, and it had like some good stuff in it. It just felt like it never was really fought all the way through while you're watching it. So to see something like that getting the attention and like the thought it deserves in a great project would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. My last thing I'll say for DC is a hero, and we've said it before. You've said it the best way, which is he shows up in a lot of stuff, but it's always just as a cameo, or it's in something lesser known, and it's like what this character is should allow him to be a big part of stuff is Martian Manhunter. It can be his own movie, it can be his own mini-series, it can be him joining up with Supergirl or Superman and stuff as he usually does, or just even in the Justice League. But this character, like, he just hasn't gotten his spot in the sun to really, like, come out and be a character people know by seeing him. And I think that's a shame, because if you watch a lot of, like, of the animated Justice League movies, and, like, you'll read Justice League comic books or Superman comic books and whatever, he's not, like, not well known, and there's a lot of bad guys and stuff that come with him, too. It's just one of those characters that's just sitting there waiting, and it's like, that would be a great character to break into. And for James Gunn in the DC universe, it would be a great opportunity to start exploring more of the cosmic DC, just to establish a lot of here's this and this and that, which we'll get in Supergirl. But I'm not expecting to see Martian Manhunter in Supergirl.
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
not either. And I like you said, I mean, we've talked about it before, so we don't have to spend a ton of time on it. But, you know, he is super well known, and he's in everything, like comics-wise, animated show and movie-wise. Like, he's in everything. Like, everybody knows him. He's a big part of everything, except for the movie, like live-action movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
And then he's just not. Like, yeah, he has been in a few, but it's never anything of significance. Like,
Yeah.
he just kind of shows up and does like one or two things.
Yep.
Or drops a little bit of wisdom and then leaves.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
He's
it.
like, I'm out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely think they should include him in some stuff in the new DCU. And then, also for the DCU stuff, I think we'll hurry up and do. I got two villains, both Superman.
All right.
And I'll make it real quick. The first one is, you know, we know that he's going to be the villain of the next one. It's Brainiac.
Oh, yeah. And I think they're approaching that in a cool way where they said it's going to be like Lex Luthor and Superman teaming up. Because that means to me that Brainiac's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they do him the right way. So far, I mean, they've done Brainiac and some stuff, but, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's, like, you know, if you think of Superman villains, that's one of the first people that you think of, besides, like Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, Doomsday, Bizarro, Brainiac.
Yeah.
And then there's more, but Brainiac, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like they need to do him some justice. So hopefully they do. I mean, I'm glad to see, from what I think is going to happen in the next Superman movie, I hope they do him the justice he deserves. So,
Yeah.
And then the other one, I've talked about him like once before. He's not a huge villain, but I think it'd be cool to see him, is Mongrel.
Yes.
Big, scary man. Basically just, you know, very strong, very beefy.
Yep.
Give Superman a run for his money, just solely based off of his strength.
I mean, it doesn't get old to watch Superman just, like, fight big beefcakes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of the reason why I think that'd be cool, is just because, like, he's not like, you know, a genius mastermind or anything like that of evil plans, evil schemes, but he is strong, he's very durable. So in, like, the movies and shows that he's been in, like the animated stuff, and in the comics, whenever it comes down to it and they fight, Superman, like, acknowledges the fact that he's like, oh, yeah, like, I can go full power on you and you can take it.
Yeah.
So then it's, you know, leads to some crazy fights. So I think that'd be cool to see in live action.
Sure.
But I think that just about does it for our list.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, it would be an endless list of characters that deserve to show up, like Condiment King.
Yeah.
And stuff,
Kite Man.
Yeah, it would just go on forever. But I think these are a lot of characters that have been, like, people being like, where is this character? Why is this character not showing up? And especially, like we talked about, in DC, it's like, yeah, always have more Superman and always have more Batman, but don't have that only be that. Like, build more of a movie-going fan base for your other heroes and characters and get weird with it, like, bring in characters people don't know as well and, like, give them their time, you know? But yeah, I think that about does it for misused, underused characters. So this has been the Model Opinion Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.